Alex, thanks for calling. Merry Christmas and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I just wanted to say, that, well, for me personally, I don't really think there's a life after death. It's only because, like from what I was taught, that, when someone dies, the breath of life goes back to the Creator, goes back to God. And so when the day of judgment comes, everybody's going to be raised back, to be judged, raised from the dead. And,
Well, thank you for that. And what I would say about that is, yes, that's one point of view. I think that it's hard for us to understand from within this framework of existence we're in what that's going to be like, because what George can tell you just as well as I can, because he's heard from lots and lots of these people with near-death experiences too, is that these people tell us that no matter how articulate or well-educated or bright they happen to be, they say there are no words for this, that as soon as you're out of your body, you are into an entirely new state of existence where the words or the language we have just utterly fails to bring it across. But what I'm saying is that we're on the verge now of solving that problem. We have entirely new ways of looking at that, at this.
Is science behind solving that, Raymond, or metaphysics?
What's behind it is logic. And that maybe sounds technical, but logic is something everybody uses every day. It's almost inbuilt into us. And when you look at it historically, George, what you see is that a problem first gets formulated in philosophy, right? But then eventually somebody comes along and figures out a way to make it so that it can be verified or shown either way. For example, Aristotle speculated about motion, and for centuries and centuries, everybody took Aristotle's armchair speculation as the truth. Well, then Galileo in the early 1600s, came along with a way of putting it to a test by rolling balls of different sizes down inclined planes, basically. But the point is that when something becomes science is where it goes over from the conceptual, that somebody comes up with some new set of ideas which then transformed it into science. So what I'm saying is that the question of life after death right at this moment is pre-scientific. That is, that it's the conceptual thing that has to be solved. But what I'm saying is that I've solved the conceptual thing, and that I do think that, yes, in very short order, we're going to be in a situation where there are genuinely rigorous ways of looking at this question. It's going to be a whole new world after the next couple of months. You mark my words on that.
Let's go east. George in Statesville, North Carolina. Welcome to the program, George. Merry Christmas to you, too.
Hey, George. I've been trying to call you for years and years. Thank goodness I got through.
It's magical night.
About 3 months ago, I had a heart attack. They took me to Winston-Salem. For about a month, and they sent me to the VA hospital in Salisbury, North Carolina, for about a month. I was there, George. I was in a room with a man, and he's a veteran, and he would talk to me, and you couldn't really understand what he was saying all this time. And one night, they came in at 8 o'clock and gave me this breath thing because he'd got pneumonia. And he told the man with his hand up in the air, I want to tell you something. I'm going to die tonight, and I'm happy. Sir, at 11 minutes 11, the man died. He literally died. And it's amazing. I thank God that I was in the room with him to be there and talk to him and all before he died. It was really a great experience. I know that life is after death.
Good for you, George.
How would he know?
Good for you. Raymond, those are experiences you cannot trade for anything.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, George, when somebody has something like this happen to them, and thanks to the caller, by the way, thank you so much, sir. And I've been through that same thing you have many times with working with terminally ill patients. When in that dying process, you know, many people who are listening to this, who haven't seen it for themselves, will say that I'm a nut. People who've worked in the clinical setting, for example, with the terminally ill, as I have, will say that same thing that our caller just said, that something so extraordinary sometimes happens to people on the brink of death. They light up with a light. They get very articulate. It's just like all of their hang-ups have been dropped. So it's all, you know, it's really kind of like they have their one foot on the other side. And that's what I'm now able to investigate. I have a wonderful graduate from Berkeley in linguistics, actually, who's conducting this study that we are studying the very exact kind of experience that the caller from Statesville just said. That's exactly what we're studying, and we find whole new ways of getting information about this from the dying utterances, I would call it that, or the sometimes enigmatic communications of people in the dying process. We now have ways to look at this and analyze this, and we're seeing just astonishing things from it.
Let's go to Kevin, first-time caller, Wilsonville, Oregon. Kevin, good morning, and thank you for calling. You are on Coast to Coast.
Yours?
First-time caller, as you said, and my buddy just turned me on to the show. I got to say thank you very much for what you do.
Great.
You've opened up my eyes to tons of things that I never knew existed out in the world, and it's pretty remarkable. Back March 25th, 2012, I was in an ATV accident. I picked the wrong time to mix copious amounts of booze with learning how to ride an ATV, wasn't paying attention, ended up going off a 25-foot cliff onto a freeway. And basically shattered the right side of my torso, shattered every single one of my ribs. Liver was obliterated.
I bet you had no helmet on either, Kev, did you?
I'm sorry?
Did you have a helmet on? I bet you didn't.
No, it was 3 o'clock in the morning. I was, I was making bad decisions that night, drinking, and I'm not proud of it. But anyway, so I'm sorry. Let me get going on with my story here.
That's okay.
I ended up having to be life flown to the hospital, and it's funny how things work out in the world. I live in Wilsonville, and there's Aurora Airport, and I was actually in Aurora at my buddy's house, and we finally get an ambulance over to the house. Someone was actually going to the bathroom. We were out on a farm, so someone was going to the bathroom outside, and they see the taillights of the ATV go over the embankment. They run inside to say, "Hey, Kevin was just in an accident." They get an ambulance over there. The airport is only about a mile away. The life flight is stationed at this airport. So I go to OSSU Hospital, which is like the #1 hospital. If you get messed up in Oregon and they take you to OSSU, you're going to be good.
Yeah, that's where you want to go.
Exactly. They do different procedures every day, and I was working as a pizza delivery man at the time, and I ended up, so I get life flown there. I code in the ER 3 times. I'm going in and out of surgeries
every couple hours.
Poor.
So they just put me in a medically induced coma. And I'm sorry, I don't know your guest's name.
His name's Raymond Moody. The more you listen to us, Kevin, the more you'll know all our guests. Go ahead.
Okay, Raymond. I don't know what the correct terminology would be, but I was in a medically induced coma for 7 days.
Yes.
Now, my dreams were so vivid and so real, I guess because I was legally dead for 2 minutes and 4 minutes.
Let's find out. So he had these near-death experiences, Raymond. He's put in this self-induced coma for some time. Is that a near-death experience all by itself, a coma?
Well, let me ask you this. What exactly was it that you experienced? Let me say this. What people typically tell us with a near-death experience is that they find themselves out of their bodies, looking at their own physical body from above, and they often tell us that they go through a passageway into an incredibly brilliant light, where they often say that relatives or friends of theirs who have already passed away seem to be there to meet them and to help them through the transition. And they often tell us also that they see everything they've ever done kind of spread out in a panorama around them. But there are variants too, but that's what people most often tell us when they almost die.
Did you see that tunnel, Kevin?
With Xbox. I'm pretty young. I'm 25, so Xbox is kind of my generation, I guess you could say. But imagine an apartment building that's infinity stories high and infinity stories wide. And and I'm not religious. I just don't practice it. I respect it. I just don't practice it. And this may have been my reckoning with the other side, or if there is a higher power.
Maybe so. We've only got about a minute left, Raymond, and I want to get your reaction to something like this. So let's assume he had these near-death experiences. He's all shattered. He comes back. I mean, a lot of people don't want to come back at all. So
they don't. Yeah,
why do you want to come back all busted up like Kevin was?
That's right. Well, often in these experiences, people say, George, that they gain a new perspective on life, and even though they don't want to come back, when they do, they say that their life is on a wholly different footing then, that they... most often, they tell us, as you know, that they say that the purpose of the life we're leading now is to learn how to love, and that they're not going to be afraid of death anymore because their experience convinces them that what we call death is just a transition into some other state of reality.
No doubt. Raymond, would you give out those two websites, your regular one and the new one you just set up?
Yes, the one that is about the program on the 17th and 18th in Orlando at Disney World is thelogicofnonsense.com.